Hey y'all, it's Stephanie L. I am here doing this video for you using the Simon Says stamp Merry Christmas or Christmas Cheer stamp set. I bought this like years ago and never used it. And if you've been following my page, you know I've just been updating with content. Like I know I said the last time I used my page was 2 years ago, but for real, that was like when that car hit my house. It's actually been 4 years since I've been steadily uploading content. So you know, a good 4 years. So it's very, very possible that I bought that stamp set 4 or 5 years ago and just never actually used it. So I'm happy to be using it for the first time for this Christmas season. So let me start off saying that I did not plan this card. All I knew is that I wanted to use this stamp set, but I never actually thought about the scene and put all that kind of stuff out there. I kind of just took the big parts, saw what I thought would work, kind of developed something in my mind about how that would work, and went to it with that. Like in my head, I saw Santa Claus standing underneath a a light pole, and that's why he has that big shadow underneath him in reading his list. And then there was a sign. I don't know why, I just imagined him being outside, but I was going for that. Now, I'm not an artist. I will tell you that from jump. I am not an artist. I just like to color. That's it. Like, this is my version of adult coloring, and I like making things, so that's what I'm doing here. I am making something that I can color to put on cards to give to my friends. At this point, just know that I went ahead and stamped about 6 scenes. It's the same scene, so I'm just going to color them all differently, kind of like making a card set. Like I said, this whole set I plan on giving to different of my friends. So I'm going to color all these different. I'm going to give them different ethnicities, and I'm going to color them different Santa suits. So this is my blue one. Give me a second and I'll tell you what color that is. I went through a period of, to find this, I had to figure out what all my colors were. And the way I chose, the color palette that I chose was just based off of, oh, this is BG72. The way that I chose my color palette was based off of whatever Copic alcohol markers I had, because get this, all the all the Artist Loft alcohol markers that I had have erupted, I guess. I'm not sure what to call it, but they have all exploded. The nibs are expanded, they're chunky, they're messy, they're mashy. Like, it's a total atrocity. So these are the Copics that I have. So with this next Santa, I decided to keep that RV23 and keep going. Like, I noticed that he had a very blushy, rosy kind of pink. And I was like, wow, if I keep layering that color, then it will kind of look like the red Santa suit. So let's keep rolling with it, because like I said, I only have a couple of colors at this point. A lot of I never had a lot of Copics in the first place because I was trying to ramp up my collection of those, and somehow over the years I just lost a lot of them, or maybe I got rid of a lot of them. Like I said, I went through a period of where my craft area just seemed to be a source of contention for me, and I just didn't do anything with it. So we'll see. I'm basing it was all of these must have came out of one pack as well, because they all look relatively good together. Like, maybe I bought one of the primary packs or something like that. I'm telling you, my goal is to see if I can get one of the sets of 72, but those are like super duper expensive. I'm talking about like $400 for 72 markers, especially because when I was collecting these the Copic markers were cheaper, and they had to go up on the price a couple of years ago. So yeah, definitely way more expensive than I would like for them to be. But the price is what the price is. And you can see right now exactly why the price is what the price is, because these Artist Loft markers just came apart. You see me twisting them, like the nibs are all busted. Like, look at that. So I'm going to try to use them for as long as I can, and until I can start replacing those colors. So even with this one, I'm going to be using the chisel tip end to color with, because the brush nib is gone. So let's talk about why that matters, because even if it's expensive, I kind of like to buy things one time and one time only. So artist loft markers are about $3 a piece, and Copic markers are about like $9 a piece. So they're 3 times the cost. But what you're getting is with artist loft, those are not refillable. Now, once those nibs are gone, the nibs are gone. You can't replace those. Now, if there's some off-brand or off-market aftermarket like nib replacement, then that could be good. I haven't compared Copic nibs to artist loft nibs, but if I'm paying for Copic nibs, I might as well just have a Copic marker. And Copic markers are refillable. Matter of fact, a lot of the alcohol ink techniques that a lot of people use nowadays are because they were buying Copic alcohols and they were applying them to Yupo paper and other different papers like that. So, and then I want to say other brands, at least to my knowledge at that point, other brands started selling just alcohol inks. But a lot of times the alcohol ink that people are using are coming from Copics. So yeah. The next step to this card is to do a little something with that background. Right now it's looking kind of blank, and to create a fuller scene and give it a little bit more visual interest, you want to do something with that space. Now, a good thing that you could do and always do is put a sentiment there, but even with the sentiment, I feel like it would still be a little lonely or just a little naked. So I want to do something, which for me was putting these polka dots in the background. It kind of looks like snow, but I wanted it to more so match the different colors. So with the first one, with the purple one, I did Wilted Violet. With this one is Warm Lipstick. Yep, warm lipstick. So I'm just going to put that in, put my stencil over it. This is a stencil that I got from Michaels. It was in one of my like Tim Holtz packs, maybe, or maybe it was just a Recollection stencil. But what I did with this was I didn't want it to be so cut and dry. I wanted there to be like a little bit of more color than just the dots. So what you'll see me do is I am using the stencil, and then I go back and kind of like blend it in a little bit more, just to give a little bit more emphasis on all those colors. And for this blue one, I'm using faded jeans. So I think, using my stash that I have, I didn't have to go get anything brand new to make any of these cards. This makeup brush is something I had from a while back that just sat in my stash for a while, and I have all the cards. So the next thing I'm going to do is start coloring this in. Now, I debated a little bit as to whether I actually wanted to color this in or what I wanted to put there, but in the end, that's what I did. So now the final touches, I'm going to start coloring in those signs. I thought about leaving them blank, but it just looked kind of naked without anything being there. So I'm going to color these signs. I know the dark color is E10. I'm not remembering what the lighter color is right now, but I just blend between those two colors. And normally I like to go from dark to light, but I'm going to experiment with going light to dark. What I find with alcohol inks is, or alcohol marker coloring, is that if you lay down enough color, it all blends eventually. And when I say lay down enough color, I'm talking about like you can see it on the back, it goes on the back. Which is very different. Like, it's funny because I started off with alcohol ink coloring and alcohol markers, and then I totally moved over to watercolor. There's actually a card that I made recently that I had a watercolored on. I forgot that you have to have special paper for watercoloring because all my stash is watercoloring now, and it did not come out well because I used regular paper. But getting back into alcohol inks, I really do like it. And here's an example of what I was saying about, sometimes I start from dark to light and other times I start from light to dark. So this was an example of me starting light to dark and then applying the dark. I think here is where I realized that's why my personal preference is to start from dark to light. I just feel like visually I can tell that I can see how it blends a little bit better. But honestly, like towards the end of that sign, you could see how it all blended anyway. So, and here I am going back dark to light. I'm going to be one of those people who just, I have a preference and then I always forget what my preference is and I'll just do it whichever way works for me at that time. So, I think really are people who say one is better than the other, and I'm not a professional color person or a professional artist. So I don't know which one would be better technique wise, but this is something I do to express myself and for my own creativity. I'm not trying to do it the correct way, whatever that may or may not be. Just do whatever works for you. So these cards aren't really too different in terms of coloring. So like, well, the signs aren't too different in terms of coloring. So I'm going to get into coloring these Santa's complexions. So this color right here is E6. I had to go back and look. The first color, the darker color that I started off with was E10. Now, I will say this is one of those times where maybe I have to eat my words on which color comes first, because complexions are hard because people, like real people, have undertones, and you can, someone can have the same like complexion, but because their undertone is different, then it makes their entire complexion look different. And it's hard for me to capture that with color, because I started off with the darker color because I wanted this to be a darker skinned Santa, and then I started off with the lighter color for like the middle of the face, thinking that was going to show shadows. And then I think the Santa and of himself came out dark. It came out lighter than what my original mental model looked like. So like, this is going to be something, again, maybe this is one of those things where there is a difference in the way you lay down color, and I just haven't discovered it for myself yet. We'll see. Now I'm at the point where I'm just experimenting with all the different colors. So I'm laying down all my flesh tone colors that I have from Artist Loft and just trying to make something work. And I mean, honestly, for I think it's working for me the way that I like it. So I'll keep trying. I was a little scared when I had that C9, that cool gray. I was afraid to see what happened, but I think it came out pretty good. Now it's time for the sentiment. So I'm going to stamp my sentiment onto each card base or card front that I'm making. And I, when it comes to my inks, I have like a lot of inks, but I don't feel like getting all of them out right now. Like, call me lazy, but I have them in a big storage case, and I just pick out the ones that I need when I need them. But my kids also like to use them, so whenever I break those out, that's like the sound that gets them going. So what I'm going to do is, I have 2 cases of all my Tombows, and I'm just going to pick a Tombow that I think works. I'm going to color my stamp, and I'm going to stamp it, and that's what you see here. Now, when you do this, it kind of comes in handy to know that with different inks, you get different effects. So this would be closer to like the dye-based or the water-based inks that you use, because Tombows are watercolor markers. So if I wanted something a little chalkier, I could use like a pigment ink, which would be all my Distress Oxides or anything like that. But this one works for me, and it's going right on top of the Distress Oxide ink like dots that I have up there. So I think it'll turn out pretty good. Another thing that you should do, like, I thought about how I wanted the colors to lay down with each one of these, because I knew that starting off with that red stamp was going to, what could potentially be a problem for the newer stamps. So uh just make sure you're wary of that when you do this, because I am going, and you see how stained my stamp is. It's going to be that color forever now. But the good thing is you get the ink off of the stamp, and despite what has soaked into the stamp, um it'll always stamp the color that you needed, even if the stamp is a different color. And so feel free to do this technique yourself. Like, this is great because I have a lot of Tombows, but not a whole lot of color inks. So using this kind of helps me get those sentiments in different colors. So in the end, this is what all the Christmas cards look like. I didn't show you pasting them down onto the paper, onto the cardstock, but you know how to do that part. This is what everything looks like together, and I'll see y'all next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, y'all.